to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, you ready to do the roll call? Or you want me to do public comment and then we'll do,
No, I can go through the roll. I think we're in good shape.
okay.
So we're City of Ansonia. Is anyone here from the City of Ansonia? I didn't log anyone. Sheila is, okay. We have Sheila O'Malley from the City of Ansonia.
Here.
From the town of Beacon Falls, First Selectman Smith. I think he's here.
George Smith is here.
Sir.
I'm here too for Ansonia, Rick.
I see Mayor Cassani.
Awesome.
Got it. Okay. From the town of Bethlehem, First Selectman Assard.
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Thank you. From the city of Bristol, Mayor Zapo-Sasso. I believe I let her in. Yeah, no, I let her in. I believe she's here. I'm going to mark her as present. From the town of Cheshire, we're expecting Jerry Sitko.
Jerry's on.
I am here.
Thank you, Jerry. From the city of Derby,
Letting him in now.
we're letting Mayor Zekin in?
Yes.
Okay, Mayor Zekin is connecting. From the town of Middlebury, we have First Selectman St. John.
Here.
From the town of Oxford, is anyone here from the town of Oxford on behalf of First Selectman Temple? Okay. From the town of Plymouth, Mayor Merchant? Okay, I didn't see him. From the town of Prospect, Mayor Chatfield. In
No,
living,
he's here.
he's here in living
Good morning,
color.
Bob, wherever you are. He's ice, so.
Okay, from the town of Seymour, First Selectman Dragonis.
Yep, here.
From the city of Shelton, the meeting's being chaired today by the Vice Chair, Mark Loretti. From the town of Southbury, First Selectman Manville.
Here.
From the town of Thomaston, First Selectman Moan.
Here.
From the city of Waterbury, we have the mayor's delegate, Judy Mancini.
Here.
From the town of Watertown, First Selectman, Town Manager Mark Ramo is with us today.
Good morning.
Morning, sir.
Hey, Mark.
From the town of Wolcott, is Mayor Dunn with us?
Yes, Mayor Dunn's here.
But not in the flesh, Tom.
I know, these donuts are good too, Tom.
Having trouble here. Having trouble connecting.
And from the town of Woodbury, we have First Selectman Perkinson with us today.
Here.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum of.
You skipped the borough of Naugatuck, the capital of the valley. We're here. We want it to be noted.
Rick, sorry I'm late. I'm here.
I apologize, First Selectman. No, we got you on the way in, Mayor Zekin.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Hess. I apologize. We would never want to short the borough of Naugatuck.
Oh, boy.
Capital of the borough.
Just let me ask a question. Does anyone know, we have someone named Doreen Palmisano trying to log in. We don't know her. We didn't send an invite, but I need to ask it.
Hey, Rick, that's Ron Shems.
Oh, that's how I knew it. Okay. Our attorney. All right. All right. With that, Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum of both bodies. Oh, and First Selectman Temple has joined us from Oxford.
Hey, George. Okay, item 1C, public comment. Anyone wishing to address the board may do so. Just state your name for the record and address.
We didn't receive any request in advance to participate, but we do have Samantha LeBon from Northeast Utilities who's asking to be recognized. Sam, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Just wanted to say hello. I'm back from my maternity leave. So nice to see everyone's faces. I'm joined here with Hetty virtually, who took my spot while I was out on leave. But I just wanted to give a quick Eversource update on a couple items today. So many of you may be aware that Eversource is hosting our annual emergency response plan meetings for first responders in early May. For the Western region, we have a virtual meeting scheduled for May 3rd from 9 to 11, and an alternate evening session will be held on May 4th at 6 p.m. So your emergency response or your emergency management director should have already received the invitation. And if you would like to attend as well, you can get that information from them or reach out to your community relations specialist, and we'll provide you that information. Another update is that we have officially kicked off our 2021 giving season through our community impact grants. So this bucket of dollars is being managed by the community relations team, and we support 501c3s throughout the state that are eligible to apply, and we provide small grants ranging from $500 to $2,500. So many towns here in this meeting have received grants, had organizations that have received grants in years past. So if you have any ideas of organizations that have been greatly impacted in your community, you can reach out to your community relations specialist, and we can connect them with the grant program. And then also I wanted to mention, this is a large gas territory in the region. So your community relations specialist is going to be reaching out to your emergency management director to go over the gas critical facilities. Recently, we went over the electric critical facilities, but now we're going to be going through and making sure that those critical facilities that also have gas are updated, and if we're missing anything. So your EMDs will be getting that information. But that's all I have, and it's nice seeing everyone virtually, and I hope you enjoy this wonderful spring day.
Okay, item number 2. CNVMPO meeting. Way is the approval of the amendments to the 2021-2024 TIP.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to put forth 2 resolutions today, and the first being for the construction of the Steelbrook Greenway, which is funded by the Transportation Alternatives Program, which will help fund the construction of a new pedestrian bridge in Watertown, and it'll connect 2 existing segments of the trail. And the second project is the replacement of traffic signals, which is being funded by the Surface Transportation Program. And this project will cover District 4, which encompasses the entire CNVMPO region. And this will enhance safety by improving the traffic signals.
So moved on.
Okay, we have a motion by Mayor Dunn. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Ed St. John. Is there any discussion?
Just briefly, do you need 2 separate motions?
No, we can take one motion, but you're approving 2 separate resolutions.
Understood.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
Just say very opposed.
Are there, thank you, guys. Are there any opposed? Are there any opposed?
There we go. It's unanimous.
Motion carries unanimously. I was actually waiting in case there was a couple of late comers. You know? I got criticized for being too quick last month.
All right, well,
Hey, snooze, you lose.
Okay, item number 2B is the endorsement of the net transportation safety targets and public transportation agency safety plan. Mark Nielsen.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Very quickly, we reviewed this plan and the safety targets back in November of last year. Federal Transit Administration requires the MPOs to support and endorse the safety efforts of public transportation agencies, in this case, NET, that serves the greater Waterbury area. The plan was put together and reviewed by the staff. It includes a safety management policy, risk management policy, safety assurances, and safety promotion. And again, the intent is primarily to reduce any kind of crashes or serious injuries through the delivery of the transit services provided by NET. As part of the plan, they've included safety targets. They're included in the plan, and that's what we're being asked to endorse. It involves areas of fatalities, injuries, safety events, and system reliability. Again, these targets were put in a table that was included in the package mail out. And they reflect, the goals of the NET, or I shouldn't say goals. The goals are always to have 0 injuries and 0 safety events, but the targets are, what they need to measure their performance against. So again, those are in the package, and staff is, like I said, has been involved and is recommending adoption of the resolution, accepting and supporting the safety performance measures, as presented.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion made by Ed Moan. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second.
Motion is seconded by St. John. Any discussion, any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Are there any opposed? Hearing no opposition, motion passes unanimously. Takes us to item number 3 is the NVCOG administrative items. The minutes for approval.
Yeah, moved as presented.
Motion is made by Ed Moan. Is there a second?
Second, Zekin.
Seconded by Zekin. Any discussion? Comments, concerns? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Are there any opposed? Hearing none opposed, motion passes unanimously.
Okay.
Item number 3B, the approval of the agency's financial reports and summaries for the period ending 28/2/21. Mike?
Thank you. My screen's connecting. So this is the report, the financial report for a period ending February 28th. This report's a little bit different than usual for the reason that we are reflecting a deficit of about $21,000. I'm in the middle of preparing my year-end projections, but roughly I am expecting about a $5,000 deficit. This is mainly due to 2 reasons. One is the actual indirect rate is outperforming with the rate that has been approved. And because we are not fully staffed currently, we are not generating as much fringe and overhead reimbursement for the grants to cover additional costs. There's a couple items like software, which software and accounting, which are significantly have higher expenses as this comes time to renew yearly subscriptions and the accounting is finished for the year. Also, another major category is legal. It's about 83% over budget, and that's a result of the Kidney Town Dam legal.
Mr. Chairman, I just note for everyone, Kidney Town Dam, we'll correct the spelling on the report next time. But the legal costs for that item were approved and authorized by the executive board to come from fund balance if we actually run a net accounting deficit for the year. So, but as Michael said, right now it's a nominal projection of deficit within $5,000 right now.
I'll just add to that, fund balance can sufficiently handle that additional expense.
Okay,
Any questions?
I'll entertain a motion to that effect.
So moved as presented.
By Moan, is there a second?
Second, Temple.
Seconded by Ed St. John. Any discussion, any comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Are there any opposed?
12:15.
What do you say? Hearing no opposition, motion passes unanimously. Item number 3 is we have a brief director's report.
It is not brief today. I apologize, but we have a couple of things to go through here. So, and I've been very brief, I will note, over the last year.
You've gotten better.
I've been very brief. So we've got a few things to discuss. First, I want to start with some new staff additions I want to introduce to you today. The Assistant Director of Planning, who we recently hired and just started on Monday, is Josh LaCar, who's with us here today.
Hello, everyone. I'm trying to get the owl to pivot in my direction.
There he
Yes,
goes.
There
There's
he goes.
Josh.
Hello. Good to be on board. Sure, I'll be talking with many of you in the months to come.
I've worked with Josh in the past. He was at one time at South Central Region and is we think going to be a great addition to our staff. The other person I wanted to introduce today, we've engaged for a virtual CIO, a virtual Chief Information Officer, who's managing our IT training and network systems. Really, the person who's going to oversee the contractor who's been out there. This has gotten extraordinarily complicated for us over the last year and will continue to get complicated even post-COVID. But Ed Davis is with us today. I just want to introduce Ed. It's and what I'll tell you all is it's a very efficient contract, but he functions like management, but he's a contractor for the agency. Ed, you just want to say hi?
Hi, how are we doing?
There we go. Thanks, Ed. We have I have a couple of other items to cover this month. So we wanted to talk about the infrastructure bill. We wanted to talk about the legislative agenda for the state session. And then there's also an issue of the recovery funds. So I'll start with the recovery funds first. So next Tuesday, the NVCOG will be taking up a discussion about the distribution of what are designated federally as county funds. So in Connecticut, what is scheduled to occur is, and there's a spreadsheet, John DiCarlo, I believe, has a spreadsheet that indicates how much, what the funding is going to each of the individual municipalities under the municipal distribution. There's money going to the state under the state distribution, and then there's county money in Connecticut. So the plan in Connecticut is to have the state distribute the county money on a per capita basis to the municipalities. What it does, though, is leaves the 9 COGs without a funding source, and we have the coordinating responsibilities for the 9 COGs in the 5 DEMIS regions to staff and carry out the governor's directives in regard to managing the situation. So CTCOG, I just want to bring it to your attention. CTCOG is going to meet Tuesday and have a discussion about requesting 1 to 2% of the county funds be directed by OPM to the COGs. So I don't know if anyone wants to comment on that or has any questions on that. I don't really know exactly what's going to be proposed yet. Like I said, we're going to discuss it this week.
Rick, can I just ask briefly, would that mean you guys would be the clearinghouse, so to speak? So as we come up with projects at the local levels and we want to know, is this eligible for funding or such, that you guys would be the middleman to tell us whether or not that is a legitimate request?
Yeah, we work with the congressional offices to do that now and with OPM and can certainly be your clearinghouse. There are a bunch of us doing that. But what I'm more specifically talking about is since the beginning of COVID, the governor's office has directed the COGs to carry out specific duties. There has been no funding for these specific duties. We have found various places.
Join the list.
Understood. We don't have the power of taxation. We don't have the ability to raise revenue ourselves. So, you know, I don't know how this is going to sit with the towns, the CEOs, or with CCM, or even OPM, but it's being raised at the statewide level for discussion, and I don't know what'll come out of Tuesday's talk, but we'll see. But it's to fund, frankly, some of the stuff we're running on deficit is our COVID recovery emergency management duties. You know, we've moved Joanna almost 80% of her time over to that. Is that not a billing source? We did get some money previously. That's in our fund balance, and we're drawing down that as well this year to pay for COVID recovery work. But there's more work to be done, and it's going to continue through the ARP and other things. So, we'll have a discussion about it. But if there are no questions on that, okay. the infrastructure bill. So we've got a couple of things going on. We've got a deadline today for appropriations bill earmark requests, congressionally directed appropriations, whatever you want to call them. I know we have Lou Mangini and Janine Lupo on the phone. I think Ellen Graham is with us as well. Yes, Ellen is with us. We've fielded a number of questions. We've issued endorsement letters to a number of your towns for projects that you're submitting through your respective member of the congressional delegation. We're also focusing in on a prospective infrastructure bill and transportation bill coming up in the near future. So I think we all sort of suspect August, or at least the speaker has said August is the deadline to take up the infrastructure bill. We're collecting and assembling the activities that we had put together for the infrastructure week that kind of never came back in 2017. And so we have a number of projects. The regional wastewater consolidation is one. The TOD improvements on the Waterbury branch line is another. The CT fast track extension from Bristol from New Britain back through Bristol and back to Waterbury are all long range projects that we've identified for infrastructure improvements. So we're going to continue to solicit those, and we're trying to focus for that bill on the ones that have regional impact. But if any of the CEOs, any of the towns have projects or proposals that they think will fit under a future infrastructure bill, then we invite you to get them into us so we can collect them and assemble them and submit them jointly.
So before you go, is the criteria already established and what qualifies?
No,
So how do you submit that?
Well, we're assembling what we consider to be traditional infrastructure bills, infrastructure projects this year.
Give examples.
With the wastewater treatment consolidation
gotcha.
for the 5 towns on the Naugatuck River would be a prime one for us. There's probably $150 million of savings, but there's also $150 million of expense to pull that together. So that's one that we would look at. Certainly the transportation oriented ones, the TOD developments around the downtown station areas on the Naugatuck, on the Waterbury branch line. We have the BRT extensions for fast track that we're looking at. And then, there's also the transportation bill coming up. So we're kind of collecting everything. We're looking at projects that are on our SEDS. So if you have a SEDS project, EDA traditionally doesn't get a lot of money, but might get a good chunk of money under an infrastructure bill for economic development projects. Those could be any kind of sewer infrastructure, gas, roadways. Through roads would be good transportation candidates, but also could be under infrastructure. So we're trying to assemble them. We don't know what the rules will be. I think we're assuming right now 80-20 split is going to be carried forward, but we don't know that. The Congress may come through with higher reimbursements.
Would they have to be municipal projects, or could they be in collaboration with utilities that serve municipalities?
I don't want to put the member congressional delegation representatives on the spot for this.
Understood.
But there's always a fine line between benefiting for-profit entities and with public infrastructure and benefiting regulated utilities that are publicly owned. So it gets tricky, and I think it would come down to the individual case when the bill gets drafted and goes through conference committee, if it does. Hopefully goes to conference committee and not reconciliation.
Rick, just mention before you move on to your next point, the Connecticut DOT did send over their priorities. So if you'd like to take a peek at that so that there's not overlap on requests that end up coming in, I can send it to you.
Yeah, that would be great if you would share those. We haven't seen those, so that would be nice. But I guess the big issue that I'm trying to get through is there are 3 real different pots of money that we're looking at for infrastructure improvements and trying to be prepared for federal aid. We're beefing up our DEI operation here for diversity, equity, and inclusion, because almost everything we're going to see from the new administration is going to have newer requirements in regard to that. So we're trying to be prepared so that we can provide that to the towns and make sure that we have everything lined up to be funded when we have projects and there is a program. But right now we're just collecting them. Mark and I are continuing to assemble those along with John and Josh. I'm sorry, did First Selectman Temple have a question? George?
No, I'm fine. Thank you.
So I wanted to get through that with you. Obviously, and Janine, I thank you for raising that, but we're aware of things like Mixmaster and the big ones, but not all of them. So that would be helpful. So if there aren't any questions on infrastructure or any of those, I just want to move on to the state legislative agenda. John DeCarlo had prepared an updated hot list that was sent to all of you earlier this week. And there are a number of bills that we're tracking that are alive, that came out of committee, were JF'd, for those of you who know the term. There are quite a few. I mean, I'll skip through the appropriations bills right now because the appropriations is the only committee that's not at JF deadline yet, and those really haven't been deliberated over. In the Commerce Committee, there are a couple of specific ones for our region that we're tracking. Enterprise Zone in Plymouth, also the Regional Economic Development Pilot Program for the Naugatuck Valley, which is Naugatuck Valley Development Corp., and is really being driven by, right now, the city of Waterbury and the borough of Naugatuck. So we're keeping our eye on that one. There are a number of bills. I'm not going to go through all of these that John has unless someone has questions, but we've gotten a lot of feedback. Feedback is a good word, about the zoning bills and affordable housing bills in the state. So I wanted to touch on those. We sent out a special memo reviewing those bills. Joanna Rogalski and John have been reviewing those, keeping track of them, and watching the markups as they change. It's a very large debate that this body, if it chooses to have, could be its own meeting, could be its own conference. But we're keeping an eye on them. There are some things we like. There are some things we really don't like about them. I just to express maybe a personal philosophy on this. I think part of the problem when we look at affordability is that we look at it on a municipality by municipality basis. And frankly, when I say to you all the time, our towns are too small, and we like our home rule, but the fact is, many of our towns, 10,000 people, 20,000 people, would be a decently sized neighborhood anywhere else in the country. And we really should be looking at affordability on a regional basis, not town by town. Does this town have a certain percentage? I think that was a bad precedent that got set during the Weicker administration, and we really need to change the conversation and look at this more broadly within the context of, what's a market, what's a region, what's a transportation system, and how do they all connect, and how do these towns that are really neighborhoods connect to that. So that's just my own personal opinion for how we should approach this, but we'll continue to monitor those.
Well, I mean, that's really a source of consternation, especially down my end of the state. And I gotta believe in some of the communities up this end of the state, because it's just not practical to think that you can put affordable housing density in a place where there's no public services, particularly public transportation, and most importantly, job opportunities. So it's hard to get that through Hartford's head, and it's mind-boggling, actually.
Well, the point I was making is if we were elsewhere in the country, if we were in the Midwest, if we were in Texas, if we were in Georgia, we would not be looking at municipalities of this size. You'd be looking at municipalities of 500,000 people or more, and you'd be looking at affordability on that basis. and what, you know, what's a 1 hour commute in that range? So like I said, I think the discussion is taking place at the wrong level.
And
It's
I
being
would have to
judged.
say that just about every municipality that I've spoken to has serious concern about this proposed bill. You know, yes, we are about home rule. And if the state simply wants to take over planning and zoning, then they should do so, okay? And not ask our local boards to be their advocate, okay? Or surrogate was really a better word for it, you know, and I know Eddie would feel the same way, or at least I think he would, you know, and most other mayors.
Well, you know, there's no recognition that a lot of these municipalities are pretty good at what they do and they get good results and have for years on end. And, you know, everything is cyclical and, you know, and okay, but by and large, they're gonna do it better. Hartford's gonna do it better than people that know the locality.
So they
I don't
think.
I don't think so.
Well,
So they think.
well, I mean, we definitely have an affordability issue in Connecticut and the ability to house people who can work here and perform jobs.
And that may be true, but it's the
But
state
in
at large.
I agree.
In my view, it's been created right out of Hartford. Because they have driven the cost of living and doing business up so damn high in the state that, you know, you are pushing people out.
Yeah.
So we're going to continue to monitor those as there's several bills that deal with this, and they're probably going to get consolidated at some point if anything moves forward. But we'll continue to keep the board informed and updated on those.
And on another note,
Sure.
another one that really gets stuck in my cross, so to speak, is the arrogance of the state telling us that we need to keep our budgets under 2.5% increase. We probably all do that anyways. They should look internally.
Okay, then get rid of binding arbitration at the Board of Education level.
Oh, I'm all for that. I'm all for that, Mayor Loretti.
So,
Good luck, Mayor.
So
Yeah, I know.
I told you it was going to be a long report, and I still have some stuff to cover. So if I may, okay.
Yeah, I'm starting to have fun now.
All right.
Me too. Me too.
You're going to love this one then. So the other bill that we're tracking from a local standpoint, from a zoning standpoint, is the cannabis bill. And this has a number of impacts that I'm not sure are well understood. And I think it's very, I know Mayor O'Leary would be upset if he knew I was guessing at the outcome of this, but I think it's going to pass. I think there's going to be a bill. I don't think there's any doubt about that, given New York, Massachusetts, Rhode Island. I mean, it's going to pass. So we've stayed focused on the local issue. And the local issue is that the bill is designed to control cannabis by zoning, really, and in the way that alcohol used to be controlled, where you had dry towns. So towns are going to be able to ban the sale, retail, within their communities. They're going to be able to control it through zoning in the same way alcohol is, so many feet from schools, churches, that type of thing. So you're still going to you'll have that control. The thing that towns will not be able to do is ban the delivery of cannabis from retail stores out of town to addresses in your town. You will not be able to stop that, and it won't be legal to try and prohibit that under this bill. That said, the towns that do host retail or are the source of deliveries to other towns are going to get a local sales tax under this bill. The COG directors had a conversation with the policy staff in the governor's office about this, because they have this vision of every city setting up their own cannabis tax collection process, which seems really impractical, since these people are already going to be filing reports with the Department of Revenue Services. At a minimum, you know, we want it to be the same report and just note to the state that they paid a check over to the town for the amount due. The other thing that's part of this, and it's kind of, I think it's the governor's attempt at the equity piece of this that a lot of legislators are not happy with, particularly city legislators. But there's going to be a share of the state's money that goes to the larger cities, and that's sort of their recognition of the equity impacts that they want to make with these dollars. So, but you could have a scenario where, let's say the city of Waterbury, not to pick out a town, let's say the city of Waterbury decides to ban the sale retail sale within its borders. It won't get any local sales tax, but it would continue to receive a share of the statewide split from the state under this plan. So that's some interesting ways to look at this. But for the towns themselves, it's about zoning. And that's really where you're going to control this, much in the way alcohol used to be. I don't know if there are any questions about this issue. It's still moving. The language is going to change.
I have a question. Well, a couple of things. This seems to be all about money, and it's not about money at all to me. My concern, and after over 40 years of practicing law, is how are we going to prosecute these people for driving under the influence of cannabis? Is the state doing anything at all to try to help the local police departments try to create a decent case for anybody who is under the influence of cannabis, besides the California test, which you could tear apart in 5 minutes in a courtroom? And what about the idea that some have, and I've been working very hard on opioid addiction. It's particularly hit my town pretty hard, but I think it's hit every one of our towns. And there's still a feeling out there, and I'm not ready to discount it, is that marijuana is a gateway drug. And what are we doing about that? Are we going to put some money into rehabbing some people who for these kind of addictions? I mean, it's just I realize that if you want to buy marijuana, you can do it anywhere. But when the state gets jumps on the bandwagon, and all I'm hearing from you, Rick, is the economic impact. It's going to be good for the town. Now we can set up a little, stand out there and collect our local taxes on it. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in the social impact, and I don't see that being a part of the discussion at all.
Well, if you've set up a local stand, I would say that would bring a whole new meaning to Oxford has room to grow.
Rick, if I could.
Sure.
I've said this before. I look at this and I get that we're going to have, this is more than likely going to pass. But what bothers me is that what the state should be doing with passing this and who can tax what. Every dime, in my opinion, every dime that's raised from legalizing marijuana should be used for programs to combat addiction of any sort, whether it's alcoholism, cigarettes, drug addiction. Every dime should be kept just to combat that. And it disappoints me that the state is looking at this money, and I get it. It's gonna happen. You could drive to another state. There's a reason for doing it. We've resigned ourselves to that. But the fact that they will not, this should be earmarked for nothing other than addiction, combating addiction abuse, even gambling addiction, and fight that. We talked about that at CCM. We saw videos on from Colorado and what happened. But instead, it's just to increase the state's money to get us out of a deficit or whatever it may be. No different than charging fuel tax. Let's fix the roads. Let's fix the bridges. That's what it's supposed to be for. And we're going to have an addiction. I think we're going to have an increase in addiction of problem and issues. And the idea is there's going to be people who are going to suffer from this. And I really think they should be using this money, every dime, for substance abuse help.
Yeah, Jeff, I think that there are probably a fair amount of people on the table who wouldn't disagree with that, but I think that dialogue or this dialogue is better served with these state reps rather than us. I mean, this is the choir here. So, I don't know how we can collectively send a message to all of our representatives. It would be a pretty big block. All right.
Maybe we should do that, Mark.
So, yeah, I mean, for the staff at the COG, I mean, we're happy to carry whatever message you want us to carry to the state. But as a matter of our work product, we're going to stay focused on the local impact issues of any of these bills and keep you updated on those. But we'd be happy to bring in the state legislators and talk about other impacts if that's what the board wants.
Next matter.
So if I may move on.
Let's keep moving.
I told you it'd be a long one. There is a bill in transportation for Waterbury branch line improvements, which is a significant bill, but it may not be the bill to keep your eye on. The real place we want to be watching is finance, revenue, and bonding. The Bonding Act is really what's going to deal with this long term and make the purchases of rolling stock that are needed. Now, I will tell you that we have probably the strongest support, or as strong a support from this administration as we had from the Malloy administration for improvements to the line. The Malloy administration started and this administration is completing all of the infrastructure improvements on the line that are required to run trains in both directions. We could run as little as 15-minute headways if we wanted to, but the governor has announced, and we feel very comfortable, we're going to see 30-minute service starting in 2024. We're going to have 7 new trains in 2022, but by 2024, it'll be 30-minute service in the morning peak and in the evening peak with 1-hour service the rest of the day, which is really what we're looking for. Now, there will be a discussion. The governor in his press conference hinted about he needs cooperation from the legislature on revenue for transportation. So that's still going to be a discussion. But as I was discussing earlier with First Selectman St. John, where we are right now, the last rail cars ordered under the rail administration are just being delivered. We now have a full complement of rail cars where the state, if they have the operating subsidy, can equip the line to run more morning and afternoon peak trains, which is what's scheduled to happen in 2022 with the 7 new trains.
So the common theme here is to continue to harass your legislators.
Yes.
I hope everybody heard that.
Yeah, don't forget about
Rick
the
said
Police
that, not me.
Accountability Act.
That's okay.
So,
So I wanted to let you know it's still moving forward though. And last thing that I'll talk about, I'll skip to on the list is out of the Planning and Development Committee, there's a bill that died of COVID last session and we've had issues with prior, but it's a bill that finalizes and reforms a lot of the rules around councils of governments. It will formalize the formula under which we're funded by the state so that we don't have to get into an annual negotiation with OPM over how much money we're getting. We're going to take a bit of a hit as a region in this formula. We're going to get a little less than we got last year. I'm comfortable with the number, and I think it's fair when you look at the types of regions we have, the urban regions versus the rural regions. I think the distribution of money is fair. So, I'm supporting it, even though we're going to get about, what would we say, Michael? 80,000 less. So 80,000 less out of a $500,000, roughly, we will start the new year upcoming with, but we'll make it work.
That's pretty significant.
Yeah, it is, but in the way we budget, we've used some of this money for projects and consultants in the past, so it's not going to affect our ability to operate with our staff. And the companion to this is there will be more money in the RPIP program on projects and efforts. So I feel good about it. I'm okay. We were getting a so-called bonus of $125,000 that was stuck in the old statute. And we really were not supposed to still be getting it.
Because of somebody.
It was the merger
left out.
bonus from
Yeah,
2014,
yeah.
and it came back last year through an interpretation, a mess up in the legislative process. They rammed through the bills as we went to COVID, and at the end of the day, they ended up reverting to the statute that was supposed to only be in place in 2014, 2015. So we got an extra $125,000. I don't look at it that way, but my colleagues in other regions look at it that way because they didn't get the money. So it fixes that. It also fixes some of the operating rules. There were some things that didn't get fixed when we did the COG mergers. Technically, you guys are all supposed to be bonded under the old statute, and so we're getting rid of that and things like that. So anyway, that's it. That's HB 6104. We're comfortable that the things we're asking for are moving along well, but we urge you to continue to talk to your legislators about them. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I will conclude my second longest director's report, unless there are any other questions.
Okay, if there are, save them till after the meeting. We're going to move on to municipal shared services from a brief, from John DiCarlo.
John will be brief.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, everyone. And yes, I'll keep it brief. Two brief items to mention. For the 15 towns that participate in our household hazardous waste program, our first of 3 annual events will be held a week from tomorrow, Saturday, April 17th, in what I've heard described as the capital of the Naugatuck Valley in Naugatuck. It will be held at the Event Center downtown. We had a very well-attended collection event there in 2017. We look forward to providing this service for the towns that participate. The second item is following the March NVCOG meeting. MIRA held its annual town meeting that included the participation of representatives from dozens of towns throughout the state, including many that don't directly contract with MIRA. For that organization for their municipal solid waste disposal. That strong interest was likely a result of the state's policies regarding investing in the MIRA Hartford facility, which is scheduled to close in July 2022, and the state's support for trash to energy that will impact disposal and corresponding costs for towns throughout the state. So several NVCOG CEOs are interested in engaging support for forming a working group of municipalities with our fellow councils of governments to engage with the legislature, engage with the Ledmont administration to craft a sustainable policy for disposal. They feel that the state solid waste management advisory committee has not fully addressed this need for long-term sustainable policy on the issues impacting MIRA's closing. So I just briefly want to mention that any mayors or first selectmen interested in joining this group or sending a representative to this group, please contact me. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. And I think I said at the last meeting that this is an issue worth your attention because it's
right. That's a help.
And it starts at the Department of Environmental Protection.
Yes, it does.
Okay, so with that said, we're going to go to number 5 is the emergency management update, the COVID-19 response, and we're going to a brief update.
Yes, good morning. This is Joanna Rogalski. I just want to confirm that John Field has joined us.
Yes, I'm on, Joanna.
Okay, I'll leave it to you first, John.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Hopefully everyone can hear me. I'm reporting from way up in North Canaan on a site visit for a vaccine clinic. So real quick, just a lot of stuff still going on. Vaccine-wise, FEMA vaccine, mobile vaccine unit is actually, starting to roll out. They've been in Bridgeport, they're in New Haven right now. They're actually heading to, the Naugatuck Valley, they're actually heading to Waterbury on the 20th of April, and we'll be there for 4 days, 2 days at the Brass Mill City Mall, and then the other 2 days at the PAL location on Division Street. Also, at the same time, the state, working with Griffin Health, has instituted vans that are going to be going out and doing walk-up vaccine clinics to very specified neighborhoods. So they are starting right now. They have 10 vans, and come May 1st, they will have 35 total vans going out into very specific neighborhoods, delivering 100 to 150, 200 vaccines a day to very specific neighborhoods. So they'll continue to do that as long as those, Griffin Health and has those vans available and will continue to operate. Also testing, there's been a little bit of a reduction in testing. Basically, because of all the vaccine being delivered, the testing opportunities can obviously slow down. So they're closing up some sites, but then that increases the numbers in other sites. So they're continuing to operate testing as needed. Reimbursement wise, we continue to work with FEMA and also with OPM. You know, as far as FEMA public assistance is concerned, we are doing Tropical Storm ICS and continuing to work with the municipalities to assure they're all set for, for Tropical Storm ICS cleanup and such. And then also we are continuing to work with the COVID reimbursements. There's a lot of new information that's coming out regarding COVID, including the American Rescue Act that Congress has passed, where funding is going to go direct to the municipalities and such like that. We continue to have information on that. That's part of the next stimulus package. And then also, CCM's got a lot of information on that also. They've done a great job. Then we also have CT Unite, which is really working with our landlords and renters to accomplish some relief for some of that. So there's a lot of stuff going on reimbursement wise. As soon as I receive the information, I try to ship it out as fast as I can to assure that everyone has all the information they need for reimbursements. The legislators have approved the extension of the emergency for the governor. So it will be extended from April 19th out to May 20th. And so what that means is it hasn't been signed yet, but it's actually been approved. So it's going to be signed. And then what they'll do is they'll actually review all the executive orders that are in place currently and see which ones they need to keep and which ones they need to reduce or get rid of. And then lastly, our meeting schedules have changed up a little bit. The governor's municipal call has been switched to a monthly call. And then also the CEO EMD meeting has been switched to a monthly call also on the same day as the governor's call. So again, a lot of stuff going on. That's just a few of the items, probably more important items. But if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer it. And also, I know Joanna's got a lot to say about the long-term recovery. So that's all I have, sir, unless there's any questions.
Okay, Joanna, you're up.
Okay, first of all, thank you, John Field. He's on location, so I want to let him go if he needs to let go, get off the meeting. So thank you, John. Just want to say thanks again. Okay, so regarding long-term recovery steering committee. So just to kind of follow up on what John was saying with vaccinations, on the flip side of that, there, as you know from local media, there's been more testing of positive for COVID in Region 5, and this has been increasing over the last 2-3 weeks. Our community resource coordinators for Region 5, I'll just give you an example. 3 weeks ago, they had 41 clients. Week later, 71. Last week, there was 81. And the major need of people who are being tracked and who are going through quarantine or recovery from COVID is food security. They have a definitely need for food, which is being met. There are sources of food, but just that's the greatest need right now. The online unmet needs form, it's been sent out to the emergency management directors and the local coordinators. That's being used most recently by the arts, culture, tourism, and recreation communities, specifically out of Ridgefield, but it applies to all those sectors, that entertainment sector and arts and culture sector. Just need a lot of small stopgap loans or funding to help reprogram to more outdoor venues. So that's being done right now. Philanthropy and finance, there's a statewide database that is needed for all the nonprofit grant opportunities. As John was saying, there's a whole bunch of new funding and fingers crossed in the pipeline for not just arts and culture, but for all kinds of nonprofit groups. And of course, the municipalities. So moving on to item number 5B, Regional Emergency Planning Team. Region 5, there was going to be a meeting on April 19th. That's been rescheduled to July 19th. And that's having to do with Dennis, Homeland Security grant spending guidance is being rethought, and it's going to be given out in mid-May. Variable mussage sign inspections did happen on April 6th. Those were for the older ADCO units. Some of those units couldn't be inspected because the batteries were dead. So hopefully there'll be a re-inspection sometime soon. And finally, moving on to item 5C, the community emergency response teams. There will be a training day this year, and it will be a half-day virtual component because they want to increase participation with that. And I just want to give another shout out to our de facto Naugatuck capital region. The Naugatuck CERT this past March received a certificate of appreciation from the Western Connecticut Agency on Aging for their aiding in the nutritional needs of Naugatuck seniors during the pandemic. So kudos to Naugatuck. Thank you. That's all I've got.
There's been an awful lot of accolades going to Naugatuck today. I'm going to stop there on my way home and see what the hell's going on.
They're expected at the station restaurant today.
Are you already there, Pete?
So Rick, you had a question
Yeah,
for Joanna.
Joanna, I just wanted to ask from the yesterday's press conference from the governor, there was a map of COVID hotspots, which you and I talked about briefly. I wasn't sure if you were able to get any information. It was just for those of you who are unaware, the map of towns with more than 50 cases per 100,000 population looks like a map of our region. You know, out of the 13 towns that are in that category, it's Thomaston, Torrington, Naugatuck, Watertown, Seymour, Derby, Wolcott, Bethlehem, and Waterbury.
Rick, could I make a comment on that?
Yeah.
It's pretty obvious to me what's going on. When the virus hit originally, it came from Europe to New York City, and it came right at us, you know, right up I-95, right up Route 8. Now the British variant and other variants are doing the same thing. They hit New York City. All the people from New York City moved into the valley. They're going back and forth to New York. And now the variants are coming into the valley. And it would be way worse if we weren't vaccinating so many people. We're vaccinating 700 people a day in Naugatuck. And if we weren't doing that, we would probably be getting annihilated now. So to me, it's logical. The virus has a path. It's following the same path it did last time. And right now we're right in the eyesight of the virus.
Mm.
Well, I was going to say, I don't have, I sent out some feelers to our, local health districts. Not really sure. I haven't gotten a response yet. I'll update you as soon as I do. If you would like, I could share the 2-week across the different planning regions. It's up to you, Rick, if we want to do that.
No, we don't need to share it now. I just wanted to put it on everyone's radar. Anecdotally, Mayor Hess's analysis makes a certain amount of sense. But I just wanted everyone to be aware that, it seems pretty isolated in our area of the state. Something we need to keep our eye on.
With that said, incumbent upon mobile vaccinations, valley towns, not just the large cities, but the valley towns in general.
We had a question,
Mayor Chatfield.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I'm probably wasn't shown, but I'm probably in that, still in the red state, and I'm keeping track with Chesapeake out all the time. Maybe the paper didn't check, but I feel that I'm probably in that group also. And I would have to agree with everything the man in purple talks about. Why don't you have us all a purple shirt for the next meeting, Mr. Mayor in Naugatuck?
Could do that.
Through the chair, this is Mayor Dunn from Wolcott. I just want to reiterate what Mayor Hess had said. Wolcott's in that red zone, but it's not one particular area. It's spread all over, and it's again, I could see if it was just at a school or at one department or not. It's all over. The numbers are younger kids are getting it now. So our numbers are spread. So I can't really pinpoint. I mean, people are wearing masks when they're supposed to, but we're on our 3rd vaccination clinic today. So we are doing the same thing that Naugatuck was just saying. So I think it would be a lot worse if we weren't vaccinating, but we're doing that. And, where it is, I don't know, but I know it's not in just one particular area. So we're watching for that and trying to do our best.
We can't do this resolution. We're gonna have to wait on the borrowing until next.
Do we know what the death rate is doing in correlation to the number of affected people?
Oh, I think.
Seems to have
I think
leveled off greatly.
hospitalizations and deaths have declined dramatically. Joanna, right?
Yes, yes. Mhm.
Severity of it is probably not what it was some ago. It's just the contagion rate.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, any other questions? Now we're gonna move on. Item number 6 is NVCOG Planning Transportation, Mark Nielsen.
Good morning again. I just want to quickly update the LOTSIP program. We like to do this every meeting just so we can everybody can get a snapshot of where we are. Again, we're moving very aggressively. Next slide, Chris. Rick. Yeah. Again, this is just showing our green line is showing the allocation we do get. The blue is our expenditures and to date. And again, I just want to again point out that sometime later, middle of this year, those two lines are about ready to cross, but we're still going to be remaining in the black. Next slide, please. And this is just where we are. Last month, I had talked about these 5 projects, expecting to be advancing to construction. And this is just sort of an update. Again, Thomaston, the construction bid has been awarded. Waterbury, the East Main Street has been authorized to advertise, and the project was put out for bid. Oxford Hawley Road has been authorized to advertise as well. Plymouth, the Harwinton Avenue project has received a project authorization letter. Once it's returned by the town, the state will provide the authorization to advertise. Prospect, same thing. The PAL has been provided to the town, and again, once that gets returned, they'll get the authorization. And the total value of those 5 projects is 17.9 million. And the other thing I want to mention is we're adding from the town of Beacon Falls, the Burton Road project. As you're aware, that road has been closed because of an emergency situation. So we are pursuing that under LOTSIP because of the emergency nature. Next slide, please. And so this is just a snapshot of other regions. And as you can see, our total allocation to date is roughly 63.4 million. And total expended to date is just a little bit under 35 million. But when we add in the 17 million that we're expecting to spend in the next few months, our total expenditures will increase to 52.5 million, which is about 83% of our total allocation. So we're doing real well. We're being very aggressive in getting these projects proposed, initiated, designed, and then actually being built. So we're continuing the program and monitoring the financial plan.
Mark, I would just point out for everyone, we exceed every region in the state in actually getting the money out the door and into the ground as a percentage of how much is available to us. I just also want to note for the CEO's understanding. So we established this program under Commissioner Rediker, where it's essentially an exchange of federal funds that would come to the MPO for state funds coming to the COG for.
Pictures already. I'm wondering if, because they're doing a presentation. Hold on.
Thank you.
Mark, I might note for your update, Thomaston Hickory Hill is under construction now.
Okay, good. Yeah.
So the point I was making is that when we established the program, the dollar level of federal funds was at a certain level. And today, the federal fund level is higher than the amount of money we're getting from the state in exchange on an annual basis. So even though we're bumping up against the allocation with actual projects, I think we're going to have a serious conversation with the department about how they're allocating those funds and what we're getting in exchange for the federal funds we're effectively programming for them. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, corridor planning.
Yeah, this is just a FYI. We solicited project proposals from all the municipalities a month or so ago regarding the opportunity to submit proposals for planning studies that the state will fund under the planning program. It involves a 20% local match for a local road and a 10% match for a project that's on the state road. And this is to conduct a detailed engineering study on a critical corridor within your community. Currently, we have 2 planning studies underway, West Main Street in Waterbury and the Route 229 corridor in Bristol and Southington. And again, the idea is that we'll do a preliminary engineering study to identify the deficiencies, identify the problems with operations, and the intent is to develop a recommendation for improving these projects. And once the project study is done, we'll be looking for how to fund these improvements. So again, just a reminder that we sent out the solicitation last month. We need the preliminary proposals by the end of April so that our Transportation Technical Advisory Committee can review and rank the projects, because we do have to submit these by July 1st to the department. And just working backwards, the board needs to endorse our list of projects that we're going to submit at the June meeting. With that, I can answer any questions.
Any concerns, questions, comments? If not, we'll move on to item number 7, environmental planning, the revolving loan fund update. Ricardo?
Good morning and thank you. Quick brownfields update. Within the last 2 weeks, the Naugatuck Valley Council of Governments has awarded slightly over $1 million for local brownfields projects. The funds originate from Naugatuck Valley's RLF program income and a 2016 EPA assessment grant. The city of Waterbury was awarded $486,000 for remedial activities of 3 sites: 130 Freight Street, 359 Mill Street, and 698 South Main Street. The Borough of Naugatuck will also be receiving $245,000 for cleanup planning and remedial activities at 0 Andrew Ave and 226 Rubber Ave. Derby, $240,000 will be heading to Derby for cleanup planning and remediation of 6771 Minerva Street and a nonprofit organization. Friendly reminder, EPA's Davis-Bacon interviews will be required on all of these projects. I will be reaching out to each project manager separately to set these up. In addition to these awards, the RBP committee awarded $29,000 to complete a phase 3 environmental assessment at the Minerva Street Derby project. NVCOG is expecting to hear back from the EPA in early May on the status of our 2020 assessment grant application. And we are also currently getting ready to submit a supplemental RLF application request. We hope to hear back from the EPA on the status of this sometime in fall. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, item 7B, composter and rain barrel update. Aaron?
Thank you. As was discussed at the February meeting, COG staff has been working to set up a regional sale of backyard composters, rain barrels, and related accessories. Brand Builders, the company we're working with on this effort, has set up an online store, and it's now live. You can find it at that URL on the screen there. You can also probably Google it at this point. Residents will be invited to order items in the web store, and Brand Builders will distribute those items at pickup events in the region on June 19th. In February, we put out a call to all member municipalities for volunteers to host pickup events, and Cheshire and Southbury stepped forward. So we've scheduled pickup events in Cheshire at Town Hall between 9 and 11 on the 19th of June, and the same day at Southbury Park and Rec Department between 1 and 3. NVCOG will be promoting the store with press releases and through social media over the coming months. And we will be asking municipal staff to help us get the word out by posting the link to the sale on municipal websites and social media accounts. And we'll be sending out a memo soon with details. And we just ask that you direct that memo to the proper municipal staff. I can answer any questions.
I have one on the rain barrel.
Sure.
Are these periodically we're told to get rid of standing water because of mosquito larvae and possible disease. Has that been addressed with this?
So yeah, they have a screen that will prevent anything from getting in there. They're actually they're really nice. I have my own rain barrel at home, but this is a lot nicer than what I have. So I'm looking.
What do you
forward
do
to it.
with the water when you're done?
So well, you could use it to really any outdoor use. You know, you can't drink it, but really anything else, watering your lawn or your garden, washing your car.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, number 7, C is Kinneytown Dam update. Do we need an executive session here?
We actually do, but if I might, Mr. Chairman, I'd make a suggestion. So Aaron has a quick update, which we would do in the public session. And I would suggest that because we have a streaming meeting and a live meeting, and we're not going to take any action out of the executive session today, that you hear Aaron out and then move to go into executive session subject to adjournment. And if we do it that way, we can end the online meeting, the video meeting that way. So that would be the best course of action today. I also have I met on the phone this morning with Mayor O'Leary and have some input from him for the executive session.
Okay, Aaron.
So just a really brief update. Since last meeting on March 23rd, NVCOG and Kinneytown Coalition Partners met with the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection Commissioner Katie Dykes and her staff. At that meeting, we made a very strong case for DEEP to take a more active role in the FERC proceeding. There are also 2 important FERC docket filings over the past month. On March 19th, Hydroland Omega LLC filed a notice of ownership change with FERC, confirming that they have purchased the facility from NL Green Power America. And late last week, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service submitted a letter in response to the dam owner's March 1st letter, in which the dam owner suggested minor alterations to the dam structure and operations to improve fish passage. The Fish and Wildlife Service refuted Hydroland's claims that those proposed actions would solve the fish passage issues. And they also declared their intent to conduct an engineering study at the dam. The Fish and Wildlife Service comments were very much in line with what we in our coalition have been pushing for. Next page, please. So we're still waiting on the confidential dam safety reports and documents that we requested several months ago. And we're working closely with Attorney Shenz on the next steps. Rick, I don't know if you have anything else to add.
No, I'm not going to add anything at this point. It's, I think we've gotten a lot out of the federal side, particularly the leadership from the congressional offices. Really, I think is what led to Fish and Wildlife taking a very aggressive stance. For government, it's pretty aggressive. So we have some strategic legal issues to discuss, Mr. Chairman. So my suggestion would be executive session subject to adjournment and inviting Attorney Shems, myself, Aaron Boudris, and I think that's it.
Entertain a motion to that effect.
So moved.
By Moan, seconded by Ed St. John. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Are there any opposed? Hearing none opposed?
Just note Mark Nielsen and Josh LaCar, the planning director and assistant planning director, will be with us.
Will be joining us.
Will be with us. Yeah.
Motion carries.
Okay.